Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? We got no one in the chat so far, which is all well and good. I'm sure that this will get a bit more on the replay side anyway. So, that being said, we've got an update on this whole Berserk fan animation that's been going on. So, I guess some updates since the last time. So, during the last video that we talked about this, there was a bunch of things being thrown around where Studio Gaga had made an initial statement stating that the Studio Eclypse fan film of Berserk was not licensed, and that the copywritten material was used without their go-ahead. This went and blew up and caused a lot of outcry. Now, when I was doing the last video, I did talk about how Studio Eclypse had very clearly stated that they were fully intending to complete the episode, at the very least, the first episode of this, and that it was their intent to show the studio closer to the first episode to being done to try and get their green light with a more complete product. This does still appear to be their stance, and we will go into that here momentarily. But what I didn't realize was that this statement had actually caused another fan-made Berserk project by Studio Taka, which was a motion comic online of Berserk. Which was pretty solid. I remember when the first episode came out. Obviously, it's a motion comic, so very faithful adaptation. You're literally pulling Miura's pages and adding animation to specific sequences to try and, give it the semblance of movement. And there was obviously, voice acting and what have you for specific characters' dialogue. And it was very enjoyable. And unfortunately, because of this response, Studio Taka decided that they were going to cancel their project as they were in the midst of finishing up, I think, episode 2 of the series, which is unfortunate. I do think that that was a very good fan project, and it, really demonstrated how much the fans cared. But after this whole thing kind of blew up, since Studio Eclypse had maintained silence, and there was a reason for that. A lot of people were starting to throw out things like, oh, well, they're a grift. And the big thing that they were citing was this Attack on Titan fan film that they had been teasing for the past couple of years. And so we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into that today. I have offered a couple of people who are on the opposing side of where I stand on this, the ability to come on, if they so choose. If they hit me up and say, hey, I'm down, I'll shoot them the link. Gladly have opposing views here. Definitely not one to create an echo chamber. Always appreciate having discourse, so long as it's not like, oh, you're a clown or this, that, the other. And admittedly, I had gotten into something like that here early this morning before coffee. And so to that guy, sorry if I came off as a dick. That wasn't the intent. But we're going to get into what exactly Studio Eclypse posted. And yeah, so let's take a look here. But let's see. Hold on. So this is straight from the horse's mouth. I'm pulling up the Studio Eclypse Twitter account. And my cursor is going all over the damn place this morning. All right. Awesome. So this is the official release from Studio Eclypse. We'd like to address some of your concerns regarding the recent statements. We did not receive any type of formal cease and desist takedown request or letter asking us to stop the project. So this is point 1, and we will get back to this here shortly. After a lot of consideration, we have decided to move forward and establish communication with the IP holders, aka Studio Gaga. Supported by a great company within the industry, we're working to get a chance to adapt this arc of the story the way the fans deserve as an official studio next year. Okay, so this is another important note. We will talk about this here more in detail. This has led to the voluntary decision of taking down our Black Swordsman videos for the time being until the situation is resolved. During this period, we will continue working on pre-production materials and animation tests to be able to show our vision for the project to them. We will be unpublishing our Patreon page for the time being as a sign of respect to our overseas viewers and good faith for this project to come to life the right way. Okay, so this is a whole other segment that we'll talk about. I'm kind of breaking these down into bullet points for us to go back to later. So this is these last two paragraphs are point 3. For many years, all of our fan projects have been self-funded and always intended for free release to the public. We decided to accept donations after a large number of the community asked for a way to support. This ended up helping us cover a lot of background art, cleanup, and composition costs. The other stages were only possible by sheer passion and sleepless nights from our group of friends and animators. We will now go back to our roots and continue to fully self-fund our fan projects moving forward. Thanks to all our supporters for sticking with us. Without you, the quality that we were able to achieve just as a group of fans in less than a year would have been close to impossible. A strong community can achieve the unthinkable. Sorry about this. So, and then what I do want to note is, as a follow-up right here regarding the Attack on Titan Requiem project, the first and only... Dude, what is going on with my cursor? The first and only episode is expected to release before the end of this year. The project has been in the works by a group of passionate fans in our collective dedicated to adapt this popular alternate ending to the animation medium. Okay. And it says, please bear with us for a few more months. We hope you understand that animation is an art form that takes titanic amounts of time and effort. We are doing the best we can to deliver something special for the community. All right. So let's break this down into a few different bullets here. So we started off with bullet 1, where, you know, this is like a when all this news came out, everyone was reporting that Studio Eclypse received an official cease and desist from Studio Gaga, telling them, hey, cut this shit out or we're going to sue you. And as I stated in the last video, this is a complete fabrication. The official response from Studio Gaga was plainly put, hey, we have no affiliation with this project. We have not given this thing has been done without our support, and we have not given license to the copyright. All right, very plain, neutral statement. Really, like I'm sure that there was probably some ruffled feathers, as this was a fan animated project, and Berserk has had a notorious history with issues producing animated adaptations of Kentaro Miura's seminal manga. So that's first thing here, is this establishes right off the bat that a lot of this crap was just blown out of proportion from the get-go. Second bit, after a lot of consideration, we have decided to move forward and establish communication with the IP holders, supported by a great company within the industry. We're working to get a chance to adapt this arc of the story the way fans deserve as an official studio next year. So effectively, what this means to me is, and we have somebody in the chat, so let's take a look, see who we've got with us. I don't see them yet. If you're there hanging out with us, please feel free to say hi. And if you want to jump in and you have a different opinion than mine, please hit me up on Twitter and I'll gladly shoot you the link. But let's keep this going otherwise. So after a lot of, as I said, after a lot of consideration, we've decided to move forward and establish communication with the IP holders, which is Studio Gaga, aka the Kentaro Miura, the late Kentaro Miura, I should say. Supported by a great company within the industry, we're working to get a chance to adapt this arc of the story the way fans deserve as an official studio next year. Okay, so effectively what this means is they are going to, that they have gotten in touch or are working at getting in touch with Studio Gaga, which means that they have some form of legal representation, which is actually a bigger point to this letter's credit. Is this is very Bill Swartz, yeah, same guy here. Hey, what's up, Bill? Hey, thank you so much for your discourse on Twitter. You're incredibly professional. If you want a link to come on and chat, I'm more than happy to. Just hit me up in a Twitter DM. I'll send you the StreamYard. Would love to actually get a chance to talk with you. I do think that you have some incredibly good points. I don't disagree with everything you're saying, but as somebody who works in the comic book field and has started to really get into the whole animation process as well, trying to learn that and understand it from a copyright standpoint, like I would genuinely love to have you on and chat. So what effectively this point brings up is we have a as they've said, they have started communication with the IP holders of Berserk, which means that they have some form of representation. And this is also why it took them so long. Oh, dude, it's all good. I just figured I would give you the opportunity. I never want people to feel like I'm just trying to be in an echo chamber. Completely understand. Please feel free to leave your thoughts on what I'm saying in the comments. I'll gladly bring them up and I will discuss them with you live. It's something that I'd like to pride myself in, is that I'd like to think that I'm pretty level-headed and I'm willing to hear people out. But yeah, so this is as I was saying, this letter very much is not just something that was comprised by some randos. This is a legal letter. They absolutely have gotten some form of legal counsel, maybe even an agency or what have you, to help them in this process in trying to navigate the very complicated waters of going from a popular fan animation to a officially recognized product, because that's what it kind of seems like in this, and you know, that's how it appears to be. So that brings us to point 3. This has led us to the voluntary decision of taking down our Black Swordsman video for the time being until the situation is resolved. During this period, we will continue working on the pre-production materials and animation tests to be able to show our vision for the project to them. We will also be unpublishing our Patreon page for the time being as a sign of respect to our overseas backers in good faith for this project to come to life right away. All right, so what does this mean? Again, we have very clear legal advice being given as a way to showcase good faith with the animation studio and create a reset on potential introductions. They have taken all this stuff down as a way to acknowledge that they see that they have taken a wrong course of action here and have caused some offense. And so now they're looking to bridge the gap, which will be complicated. I'm not going to say it's not. International copyright and everything like that is a very tricky thing. But I think that the probably biggest thing going in their favor on this is they are stating that they're going to continue working on pre-production materials, which I'm hoping that they will, you know, push out via social media pages as like, hey, this is like a current status on how things are going. And then we will also be unpublishing our Patreon page. What effectively that means is that they can no longer take any more contributions via Patreon as of right now. Now, it is my understanding that this Patreon Have you ever heard of Arch? I have not. Um, hey, hit me up with a Twitter DM with the link of that, and I'll pull it up here when I get to it. All right. I appreciate you, man. Okay. So, um, what we're seeing is that this Patreon page has effectively been shut down for the time being. They're no longer receiving any more funds. It is my understanding, and if somebody knows better and can showcase it, that this Patreon was literally put into being to help subsidize the efforts on the Berserk adaptation, because the initial intent was to adapt from Black Swordsman and then keep going completely on their own, and that's a massive undertaking, right? Like that was the whole initial pitch, was to do this, at least as far as I understood it, and like that's going to cost money and time. Now there is a big misconception as to, well, that means that they're making money. No, it does not. uh, Nonprofits are not defined by whether or not they turn a profit. They are defined by how the infrastructure is set up, where, you know, a nonprofit can turn a profit so long as that profit is then invested into whatever projects or events or what have you that the nonprofit supports. A nonprofit is simply an organization where the funds do not go to uh, support a single individual, but help a group, right? And so, as this is a fan animation studio, the group that they are in support of are the fan bases of these various IPs, and they are doing fan productions. They are literally only getting money in from donations and grants, which is the other part that makes a nonprofit. And as a result, like they are 100% a nonprofit company based off of what I've been able to see by looking at their LinkedIn, by looking at their socials, everything like that indicates small nonprofit animation studio. They have no marketed distribution plan that includes the purchase or resale of physical media to gain, uh, monetary boosts. Everything is done based off of donation, and it literally is just funneled into the development overhead of the project. Any excess gets put right back into the project, because, as we stated at a couple minutes ago, the initial intent of this was to adapt from Black Swordsman onward, which would be a massive undertaking that would continue for several years. Um, especially with such a small animation studio. I believe they have 150 people, maybe 125, if I recall correctly, which is tiny in terms of animation studios. Like between animators, of like action backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. You have voice actors, you have sound editors, composers, everything like that. That's a very small organization. Like that is the definition of grassroots in the creative industry. So, moving on to point 3, let me pull up Twitter, because I think our friend Bill has sent us the link here, and I do not want him to feel like I am blowing him off. They say it's just one guy in their FAQ video. Hold on one second. So we will take a look at this. So this is for Arch. Okay, this is I think that, oh, you know what? I did see this video this morning. I didn't see, I haven't watched this one yet, but this is the fan season 2 pilot. I did see this, but this, I'm fairly certain, is a different animation studio. Like this is, I could, And I think that that's the big thing here, is that it's like there's been a lot of things floating around on different fan projects, but like it's one of these things where it's like Studio Eclipse isn't necessarily involved with doing any of these other things. um we will take a look at this. Is 25 minutes. We won't be able to watch all of it, but you know, we will take a look at it. I'm always down to watch more Berserk fan stuff. I'm a huge fan myself. I have like so yeah, it's different. They didn't get mentioned because most reasons, I think, is they just didn't announce it constantly on Twitter. Yeah. So, but like this is the whole thing. Is the only one that that Studio Gaga mentioned was Studio Eclipse, and that is because the trailer has been getting sent all over the place. And while Studio Eclipse may not have intended this, there have been absolutely people online, because it's the internet, and the internet is a toxic, horrible place, where you had people who were like tagging the Berserk official page or Studio Gaga on social media, be like, how have you guys managed to screw up every adaptation of this? And some fans are doing it in their basement, right? Like there were definitively shots fired against them. And so Studio Gaga has taken a, I would say, neutral for the most part stance, where it's like, hey, we haven't given these guys license, we don't recognize them as official. And by doing that, this is a more passive way of being like, hey, if you keep this up, we might have to do something, right? And so this is where I think Studio Eclipse actually did the right thing. And speaking as someone who reached out to them during all of this, and was talking to them on private messages on Patreon, and I can screenshot those. I can screen share those, I believe. So give me a second, I'll pull those up. And because I was straight up like, hey, like what, like you guys should probably make some form of, announcement soon, because at the time when this was initially announced, there was a wave of support for Studio Eclipse, but then it started to, with Studio Eclipse's silence, and then the fact that you had two, like at least one other fan project literally go and shut itself down. There was a lot of people starting to point fingers that maybe Studio Eclipse was a grift, right? And so, yeah, like this is where I feel like, there was that issue. Sorry, my cursor is, I need to get like an actual mouse. I've been using this touchpad for so long, I think it's starting to get worn down, because it's like all shaky and jumping all over the place the moment I touch it. But we have this whole thing where it was like, people were starting to kind of point fingers, and it became a blame game on both sides. So I straight up reached out to them. I was like, hey, you guys should probably make a statement. And their like official response was, we completely understand the situation, but we've been advised not to make a statement until we have figured out if this will work well with the publishers. Thank you thank you for the concern and the support. We really hope you understand our position. So like, these guys are they're doing their due diligence. They're putting in the legal works. Now, it could be a year and a half from now, this turns out to be, yeah, they screwed over a bunch of people. And if that's the case, it's freaking terrible. It sucks. It's not the first time something like this has happened for anything. And so I'm not going to sit here and be like, there's no chance. But everything that I have seen them do comes from a, hey, we're taking ourselves very seriously, and we're going to try and do this the right way. And if this comes back to bite me in the ass in like a year or two, so be it. Like, I'm not above personal accountability. I've made mistakes before, but I've also been right before. And I'd like to think my instincts are pretty good. And I would say that a lot of this stuff just looks part of the course for what you would want to do. Like, they've unpublished their Patreon page, so they cannot They cannot take any more money. They have also stated that, they are going to be going back to their roots after this project and doing completely self-funded fan projects from this point on, which I think is a sound thing, given the accusations that have been thrown around. But the big thing to me here is they also make sure to clarify that for many years, our fan projects have been self-funded and always intended for free release to the public. None of these videos are being put behind paywalls. None of these videos are being, put onto DVDs or being sent out and purchased for digital ownership or what have you. There is no back end money making scheme from anything that they have done so far. The only reason why they set up the Patreon was because it's a massive undertaking and a lot of people were offering the support. And I am sure that that's something that they ran by, which is very clearly a legal team that they have, and they were told that they could do it. I think that this whole thing has just kind of gotten out from under them, and now they're trying to do things as smartly as possible to try and move forward. And the good news is that if this does work and they are able to put a good foot forward with Studio Gaga, show them the episode, and if it is strong and the animation is there and everything like that, this could result in them getting an actual bump up and us getting a fully licensed, or at the very least recognized and given allowance to make this, so long as it's a non-profit status, by Studio Gaga, where they're helping push it and get it out there. Because at the end of the day, fans of Berserk really just want one thing. That's an adaptation of the story that Kentaro Miura did that is unabashedly faithful and isn't afraid to go to its darkest corners, which is where all of the previous adaptations have failed, is they have actively left things out to try and either streamline the storytelling, or they weren't sure that these things would be things that people were comfortable with. Like, my personal favorite arc of Berserk is Lost Children. I don't think that arc would ever have gotten adapted by any on any major studio thing. Maybe now, since Demon Slayer has become such a massive success. But we got another comment here in the chat. We've got Bill saying, reminds me of similar cases to fan games where they got CD cease and desist because of announcement trailers. On a good outcome, we could get a hopeful adaptation fan project, or not. On a bad end, we wait even more. Yeah, and I think that that's really what this comes down to, is it's a waiting game. At the end of the day, I'm an optimist. I like to take people at their word. If somebody says something, I expect that they're going to follow through on it. Now, I think that the real big test here is, as we get towards the end of this, the Attack on Titan fan project, which I see everybody bring up, Attack on Titan Requiem, has been in development for a long time and has not come out yet. They are saying that they are going to be releasing this by the end of this year. So the first real test is, hey, we got to see if they get this out before December 31st, 2025, or if not by then, have a hardline release early Q1 25, January, second, third week of January, maybe first week of February. I think that's the most grace you can give them. They said that they were going to get this done by the end of 2025. Hold them accountable to that. If they don't, then it's time, in my opinion, to start raising some serious eyebrows and even going okay, so where is this? And then where is the Berserk adaptation? Because to my understanding, and as I said, if there's someone in the chat that knows differently, please prove me wrong. Send me the links on Twitter, do whatever. But it is my understanding that Studio Eclypse did not start receiving payment from supporters until they set up their Patreon, which was after they released the first teaser of the Black Swordsman adaptation that they did a couple years back. Now, you know, that's really where I stand on all this. Now, Bill and I were having a very good discussion, I think, because it was brought up that Mark Raymer is the listed as the director of animation on this project. A couple of years back, he did the Berserk fan animation of Guts versus Rosine, and Billy pointed out that there were a couple of scenes of animation that were nigh identical to other series that are there, and I think that I do understand where he is coming from. And this is something that is also like a big thing in comics. There is this whole controversy of, oh, well, he was tracing his panels, he was doing this. At the end of the day, this is something that in the world of animation and comic book development, everything like that, is a taboo that like everybody secretly freaking does, or at least has done for a very long time. It's a way to short deadline to like cut corners and short deadlines to make products. Is it the right thing to do? Not necessarily, but I do think that this was done solely because these specific animation things properly convey the panels and the storytelling that Miura is attempting to do specifically in Lost Children. What I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to bring up, let's bring this up. So, all right. So these are some side-by-side things. You've got this thing of Guts walking forward through the flames. Now, hold on. Let's not get to the Castlevania opening part yet, because I think that that's the one that has probably the most weight. Because at the end of the day, big, strong guy walking through flames, you could have gotten that from anywhere. And the fact of the matter is that this is very much how Guts is depicted in walking, not just in the manga, but in pretty much every anime adaptation that you've seen where he's doing the Black Swordsman thing. He's kind of, got this hunch over and he's walking forward tired and exhausted because he hasn't been sleeping. So like these things, this one I'm a little bit less, or it's just like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but like this could literally be anything. Like I've seen animation similar to this and multiple different things. So it's like, okay, whatever. I think that the one that probably has the biggest credence is the Castlevania opening. I apologize. There's a lawnmower outside my house. Shut the window. So here we have this sequence where Guts is coming through the fire. It's an adaptation of like a combination of two specific panels. And it's like the lead up through it. If I'm doing this correct, and I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain that this is right. All right, so we're going to stop this screen. We're going to share. I wish I could have both of these up at the same time, and there's probably a way for me to do it, but I'm just not good enough. Oh, dude, 100%. And that's the other thing, and I was going to bring this up, is Adi Shankar himself, who is the producer of Castlevania Season 1 and 2, has straight up said that, like, Berserk is one of his biggest inspirations from from an animator's perspective, and that it's his, like, dream project to adapt everything. Now, the only thing I disagree with is, like, I don't want to adapt Golden Age at all. I was like, no, stop. Hold your horses. Like, absolutely down with you starting at Black Swordsman, giving that the proper adaptation it deserves. But you have to do Golden Age because literally the narrative flows from Black Swordsman through to Golden Age. And Golden Age, while it's been adapted, has not been done proper justice, in my opinion. There's so much that has been left out between Donovan, between Guts' birth. All of this stuff has never been tackled. Hell, Wild hasn't been done in any of the adaptations. Please, please, please Do not skip over Golden Age just because, oh, well, it's been done twice. Who gives a shit? Golden Age is where Berserk really becomes Berserk, and it retroactively informs Black Swordsman beautifully, and then allows for you to show, see Guts's development in a much more tangible way as the series goes forward. Do not do that shit. So if, like, Adi Shankar, if for some reason you decide to deign me with your freaking existence in the chat and you see this and you do somehow manage to land at the adaptation of Berserk, do not discount Golden Age. Please absolutely start off with Black Swordsman, but like, don't mess with the sauce, right? Like, it's become the classic it's become for a reason. Pay respect, do the whole thing from start to where we're at now, and do it faithfully. So, and that will set you apart from everybody else. So, like, we have this sequence where Guts is walking through the flames and everything like that, and he's got like this demonic face, and it's kind of a blend. This flame sequence is kind of a blend between this panel and setting up for this panel, where like he's like he just looks demonic as all get out, and like that's the whole point, right? Is like you're showcasing that Guts in this moment is more monster than man, and this is one of the things that I really enjoy about Berserk is that it's a freaking kaiju match. Guts is not a particularly good dude. Like, he's the guy you're rooting for because, like, Griffith is just that much worse. And on top of that, we become attached to Guts's narrative. I think the problem might be JP's current demand isn't at Berserk's lack of anime adaptation. Rather, it's current manga's progression issue. Like, OP fans say it's not enough talking about anime manga. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Yeah, I think that's great. And Bill, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate this. I would love for you to share everything out and let people know to check this out. And once everything's finished, everyone wants to see Guts' rise to glory from lowest points to highest victory over Griffith. You see, here's my thing. I do think that Guts should absolutely defeat Griffith at the end. I don't necessarily think Guts gets a happy ending. I think Casca and Rickard and all of those things, Guts sacrifices himself to take out Griffith and save them and secure safety and security for his family effectively. But like, I think Guts is like, he's not beyond redemption, but he's just as much of he is just as much of a monster as Griffith and the apostles are. He's just not willing to go to those lengths, right? Like, and when I say just as much as a monster, I mean, like, he is a threat. Like, yes, I think that this is like the happiest we can hope for, is like Guts defeats Guts defeats Griffith, is somehow able to separate Griffith from the Moonchild, and Guts does all this, and he dies because of it. But as a result, Casca gets to raise the Moonchild as Guts' son, and she's surrounded by Rickard and all of these other people who loved Guts, and he gets to be remembered as a hero where the truth is far more muddy. But point is, really excited to see, obviously, where Berserk goes in its manga. I am hopeful, and I should stress that, hopeful, that what Studio Eclypse is saying is going to pan out. And there is also every real possibility that I agree with you, though. Guts is a genetic monster, but he's definitely still human, and last few chaps show his weapons the main link, not himself. Oh, I agree. Dragon Slayer is the key, and that's not even something that's that's been the past few chapters, they started hinting to that back during the troll arc, because Shirke looks at Dragon Slayer after he's fought the dragon of the new Band of the Hawk, and it sees that Dragon Slayer has killed so many demonic forces that it started to take on its own magical ode. So like it's 100% Dragon Slayer is going to be the key to killing Griffith. Yes. But that's the whole thing. But yeah. That being said, we're going to start wrapping up. I think that this really covers everything that's gone on. I do hope that Studio Eclypse is doing what they're saying they're doing. I have no reason to believe that they're not. Another time we will do this. I want to watch this Berserk 1997 season 2 fan pilot before I do like an actual deep dive in it. Maybe I'll do that here, and then next weekend we can do a Weeb Saturday kind of thing where we go watch this and give some commentary. Bill, you're always invited to come hang out in the chat. We'd love to have you. But before we wrap up, I do want to remind people, I am a comic book writer and producer. Currently, we have a campaign that is live for the second chapter of my very popular book, The Embrace. And this is our Fund My Comic, which is the second campaign that we've run. Our Indiegogo closed up last week, raising almost 12 grand. And so now we're doing a Fund My Comic with $1,000 funding goal. We're already 40% there with $371 raised. This is our spooky season cover. If you've never read The Embrace before and you want to catch up on it, it's a fantastic story about this guy who reunites with his son's ghost, and together they have a ghost. They are a ghostly superhero where the son's ghost acts as a super suit, and they're going after the son's killers to bring them to justice. It's very emotional, but it's also got a very light heart at its core. The first 8 pages of the first book will emotionally knock you on your butt, but by the end, we really pick you up and put you back on your feet. The Embrace 2 is the continuation of that story, and we've just got a fantastic campaign. Beautiful art interiors by Dean James and Eugene Bedevue. We have some amazing variant covers. As we've seen here, this is a Shelby Robertson Halloween cover that we've got done, and this is our main cover of the book. You've got cover B by Irene Strachowski, who's a Marvel vet. We got Eder Macias, who's a Spider-Man artist with colors by Avery Ferdinand. Michael Bancroft did this lovely cover for us that once we fund will be Rainbow Holofoil, which is very excited. We also have this limited edition glow-in-the-dark cover by Shelby Robertson as well. There's only 25 of these left, so get them while you have a chance. And if you missed out on the first book, you can get this awesome spooky season bundle that comes with a Joel Gomez cover, watercolor cover, the spooky edition of The Embrace 2, a mini print by our friends Jason Bascom and Ink Spots, a Chibi Embrace sticker, a Embrace sticky hand, and then 3 trading cards with art done by the very talented Rich Ayala. Of which you can still get there are 2 of those original pieces as sketch cards available for purchase on the campaign. I hope to see people on there. It's always great getting out to new people, and any form of support is appreciated, whether it's a backing or a link share. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to put this link right here in the chat so people have access to that. But yeah. This is what we're doing right now. And thank you guys for coming to hang out with us. We're going to go out with the best way we can, which is, getting some Little Caesar.
Pizza. Pizza, pizza, pizza,
Pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza, pizza.